The supermarket aisle can be a confusing place. With countless products vying for our attention, it's easy to feel overwhelmed. We're bombarded with labels promising health, taste and value. Each package seems to shout its benefits, making it hard to discern what's truly important. Yet, one label stands out for its ambiguity: best before. Unlike expiration dates, which are clear-cut, best before dates leave room for interpretation. This seemingly innocuous phrase has a surprisingly recent history, emerging in the latter half of the 20th century. Before its advent, consumers relied on their senses and traditional knowledge to judge food quality. As food production industrialized and supply chains lengthened, manufacturers sought ways to assure consumers of product quality. The need for a standardized method to communicate this became apparent. The best before date emerged as a compromise. It provided a way to indicate a time frame for optimal quality without guaranteeing food safety, balancing the interests of both producers and consumers. It allowed producers to indicate a time frame for optimal quality without guaranteeing food safety. This distinction is crucial as it means that food past its best before date isn't necessarily unsafe to eat. Early iterations of these labels lacked standardization, often reflecting manufacturers' internal testing or arbitrary estimates. This inconsistency led to confusion among consumers. However, the concept resonated with consumers seeking guidance in a world of increasingly processed food. The best before label became a trusted indicator, even if its meaning wasn't always clear. Over time, best before dates proliferated, extending their reach beyond packaged goods to encompass fresh produce, dairy, and even shelf-stable items. This widespread adoption reflected changing consumer habits and expectations. This expansion reflected a cultural shift towards convenience and a growing disconnect between consumers and the origins of their food. As people became more reliant on pre-packaged and processed foods, the best before date became an essential tool for managing their pantries. What began as a tool for quality assurance evolved into a ubiquitous symbol of freshness, shaping consumer perceptions and behaviors in profound ways. Today, the best before date influences not only what we buy, but also how we store and consume our food, highlighting the complex relationship between modern consumers and the food industry. Best before dates were initially intended to signal peak quality. They were designed to inform consumers about the period during which the product would be at its best in terms of taste, texture, and nutritional value. They offered a guideline for when a product would exhibit its intended flavor, texture, and appearance. This was particularly useful for items like fresh bread, fruits, and dairy products where the sensory experience is paramount. This was particularly relevant for perishable goods like bread and milk, where freshness significantly impacts the sensory experience. Fresh produce too benefits from these labels, helping consumers choose the best quality items. However, the meaning of these dates has become increasingly muddled over time. What was once a simple guideline has now become a source of confusion for many shoppers. Consumers often conflate best before with expiration date, assuming that food becomes unsafe to eat after the indicated date. This misunderstanding leads to perfectly good food being discarded prematurely. This misunderstanding stems partly from inconsistent labeling practices and a lack of clear consumer education. Different manufacturers use different terms, and the lack of standardization only adds to the confusion. The result is a culture of fear surrounding food expiration, leading to unnecessary waste and a distorted perception of food safety. Many consumers err on the side of caution, throwing away food that is still perfectly safe to eat. Furthermore, best before dates have become entangled with marketing strategies. Retailers and manufacturers use these dates to manage inventory and influence purchasing decisions. For instance, products nearing their best before date might be marked down to encourage quick sales. A product nearing its best before date might be marked down, enticing consumers to buy more than they need. This practice can lead to overconsumption as shoppers are tempted by the lower prices to purchase items they wouldn't normally buy. This contributes to overconsumption and further exacerbates the problem of food waste. When consumers buy more than they can use, much of it ends up in the trash, adding to the growing issue of food waste. To combat this, some communities have started initiatives like community fridges and food sharing programs. These efforts aim to redistribute surplus food to those in need, reducing waste and helping those who are food insecure. Education is also key. Workshops and informational campaigns can help consumers understand the difference between best before and expiration dates, empowering them to make better decisions about food safety and quality. By fostering a better understanding of date labels, we can reduce food waste, save money, and ensure that more people have access to fresh, nutritious food. It's a small change that can have a big impact on our communities and the environment. The proliferation of best before dates has had unintended consequences, most notably contributing to the global food waste epidemic. These dates, intended to guide consumers on peak quality, have inadvertently led to massive amounts of perfectly edible food being discarded. A significant portion of edible food is discarded by consumers annually, often based solely on these dates. This is not just a minor issue. It represents millions of tons of food waste each year. Households, in their quest to avoid potential health risks, often misinterpret these dates as indicators of food safety rather than quality. This waste occurs at a time when food insecurity remains a pressing issue, highlighting the ethical and environmental implications of our current food system. While some families struggle to put food on the table, others are discarding it in large quantities, creating a stark contrast that underscores the inefficiencies in our food distribution networks. The lack of consumer understanding regarding best before dates is a major driver of this waste. Many people are unaware that these dates are about quality, not safety. This confusion leads to the premature disposal of food that is still perfectly good to eat. Many people adopt a better safe than sorry approach, discarding food at the first sign of approaching dates. This cautious behavior, while understandable, results in unnecessary waste. Education on the true meaning of these dates could significantly reduce this problem. This behavior is reinforced by the abundance of food choices and the relative affordability of groceries in developed nations. With so many options readily available, the perceived risk of keeping food past its best before date seems unnecessary. This abundance creates a mindset where food is easily replaceable, diminishing its perceived value. We have become accustomed to a culture of disposability, failing to appreciate the true value of food and the resources required to produce it. From the water and energy used in farming, to the labor involved in harvesting and transporting, each discarded item represents a waste of these precious resources. Changing our approach to food consumption and understanding best before dates can help mitigate this issue, fostering a more sustainable and ethical food system. The case against convenience, challenging the validity of best before. Beyond their contribution to food waste, best before dates face growing criticism for their lack of scientific rigor. These dates are often determined through accelerated shelf life testing, which may not accurately reflect real-world storage conditions. Furthermore, the criteria for determining best before dates can be subjective, varying widely between manufacturers and even within the same product category. This inconsistency fuels confusion and undermines consumer trust in food labeling. Critics argue that best before dates create a false sense of security, leading consumers to believe that food is inherently unsafe after a certain date. This distracts from more reliable indicators of spoilage, such as changes in smell, texture, and appearance. Clarity over confusion, rethinking food labeling for the modern consumer. Addressing the challenges posed by best before dates requires a multifaceted approach, beginning with clearer and more informative labeling practices. One solution is to replace best before with more descriptive language that accurately conveys the intended meaning. For example, peak quality could indicate the time frame for optimal sensory experience, while use by could be reserved for products with genuine safety concerns. In addition to clarifying the language, labels could provide consumers with more detailed storage instructions and information on how to identify spoilage. This empowers consumers to make informed decisions about food safety and reduces reliance on arbitrary dates. That's it for now. Thanks for watching Mind Matters Expert. Don't forget to like, share and subscribe to watch more informative and interesting videos.